Right, we've got some talking to do, you and me. Right, what better way to explain it than coming on this run with me. Today is 3 times 10 minutes with a 60-second rest. You're probably wondering, you were training for a marathon, or are you doing 3 times 10 minutes with 60 seconds walking rest? Well, like I said, we've got a fair bit to talk about. So we're in a favourite running spot of mine, in Millpool. As I said, I've got some stuff to talk to you about. So I suppose the first things first is, Pete, did you run the marathon and just forgot to film it? No, I didn't run the marathon. I deferred till next year, so I'll talk about that at another occasion. But no marathon for me this year. In 2025, but hopefully one will be, well, touch wood, in 2026. So to cast your mind back to January, I think, I don't have the dates off the top of my head, I'm not going to check either, but I had, on the Saturday, I think it was the 10th, I'd just done my last run, and I had filmed the last video of the block. It's the walking bit now. And the next day, I got a phone call. Now, my mum and dad at the time were on holiday. They were on a cruise. They were somewhere just outside of Tenerife, where I heard my dad had been took seriously ill in the night and was put on life support on the boat. It was quite a shock. We spent Sunday and most of the next week sorting out my brother's passport, not knowing where my mum and my dad were going to be dropped off. Yeah, let's do a bit of running and I'll carry on. And in fact, on the Monday, the day after we'd found out the news, I went for a run. Now, people would have realised if they'd watched both episodes that the Monday early runs I didn't film. But I'd done some filming at the end of that run, and it was like a garbled intro into episode 3. It was about Dad's illness, and that was the last time I ran. Well, no, tell a lie, I did. I carried on running that week. And then we learned where they were landing, and it was far. And me and my brother we went to a Caribbean island called St. Martin. Here's some video I took. And my idea was I was going to run a couple of times there and kind of pass it off as some warm weather training to surprise you guys. But no, I didn't do that. So we arrived in St. Martin on the Saturday, and they were airlifted to Miami on the Tuesday. Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday. Me and my brother stayed until the Friday evening and got back home Saturday evening. That's a whole other story, which is probably unsuitable for this video, as to why it took so long to fly back. And we kept in touch with Mum daily, multiple times a day. Dad weren't really making any improvements, and on the 19th of February 2:31 in the afternoon here, 9:31 in Miami. He passed away peacefully next to my mum, his wife. And it was tough. It is tough still. I'm filming this on Father's Day now. And if you stuck along this long, you know why that makes sense. And it's still grief I'm dealing with. He came back with my mum and my brother. My brother flew out for a week to be with my mum. We had the funeral in March. It was a send-off fitting of the man. It was fantastic. It was a lovely day. Sad day, but a lovely day. And my marathon had gone, and I knew it. And I hadn't started running properly again until May. And I think this is the first week I've actually done 3 runs in a week. So progress. And I'm conscious that I was away for a while. But I think, as you can understand, I weren't in the headspace to do it. But we paid for next year. I've paid for next year already. Paid the deferral cost. So we're doing it in 2026. Same targets and all that, and we'll get to that later in the year. But I suppose what you want to know is what I plan to do with the channel for the rest of the year. So you're probably wondering, if you stuck around this long, by the way, thank you, really appreciate it. What's the future for the channel? So I am going to carry on. I don't know if I've lost you all or not, or whatever, but that's what I'm going to do. This is coming out, as I've said, July the 6th, and it's June the 15th now. So the idea is to get sort of a weekly video up of around 10, no more than 10 minutes, unless it's something particularly big to do. In which case there's lots of opportunity to film. But no, sort of do a weekly thing and to sort of be a couple of weeks ahead. So I hope you'll come along for the ride over this summer. We'll have some fun and then start, training for that marathon sort of towards the end of the year. If you're new here, thanks for watching. If you're a returning viewer, sorry I was away. I hope you now understand why. And I will catch you next week after I've walked up that hill. Bye.